last step is to do what's called layer effects. So we're going to add a drop shadow, some texture and outline to your letters to make it look more like it's glowing or popping or banging or whatever your word is. To get the layer effects, you go down here where you go for right next to a layer mask. There's this letter FX, and we have not used that yet this year. It's its whole menu called blending options. And blending options are just special effects that apply to that layer. So let's start with the one called stroke, because what that does is it outlines my word. So currently it's doing things in, oh, and also you need to double click. If I just click it, if I just click the effect, it turns it on. To double click it, then I get the box. So let's say I don't want it to outline in red. I want it to outline in like a purple or a blue or black maybe. Black looks really good. So I go with black. And then how big do I want the outline? I want it really tiny. So it's just a thin outline. You can change the position of the outline. So you can really move it around. And on some effects it moves. There we go. I like that better. It's cleaner on the outside. And then you can also change the opacity and the blend mode of the outline for whatever effect you want. So like if I go to multiply, you're not really going to see any difference. But like if I were to go to soft light or any of the lightning blends, it makes it a lot less. And if I slide that down, it fades it even more. So it's just a very thin outline. Okay? So outline, stroke is one thing I want you to try. But let's look at changing the texture of the letters and how that happens. So if I go to bevel and emboss, bevel and emboss does a whole bunch of things. I think you can see that it immediately made the letters look more three-dimensional. You can also add a contour to them, or you can work with texture. So you can see there's kind of a pattern in a box that showed up, and that pattern is somewhat applying to these letters. So let's say I wanted to make these letters look like they were carved out of stone. There's 3 files of different textures, and even though these say water, if I tell you these look like an old rock wall or something, it kind of does. There should actually be a lot more patterns in there. I'm not quite sure. Oh, import. Yep. Let's just work with the 3 that we have right now, because that'll be fine. So you can look and experiment with different patterns and see how they show up, and do they do what you like them to do. Grass. It's only really doing one pattern at a time. I can't combine patterns. Pop. I like that one. It gives me a sense of roughness, but it's still fairly subtle. So I'm going to stick with that for my texture. And then you can scale or change the size of the texture. So you can make the texture appear even larger or appear even smaller. Your choice. You can also make it have more depth or look like basically you're creating contrast and making the shadows look up and down. Boom, boom, boom. So you just slide that so it looks good. I feel like I'm looking at the surface of a Cheeto right now with the way this works. The other thing I'd like you to try is a drop shadow. So if I just click on drop shadow, it adds one, but to see the controls, double click. Now I can change the direction, the darkness. I can even make the drop shadow be a different color. I'm going to stay with black for today. So first off, I'm going to go with the opacity slider and really bump that up so you can see the shadow. The next thing I'm going to do is play with these 3 controls: distance, spread, and size. Distance moves the shadow near or far from my word. Spread deals with the edges and how thick the shadow is, and size is how large the shadow is. Also, basically, it's how in or out of focus. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but sometimes shadows, depending on the way the light is hitting the subject, they're very soft and blurry. So if you just want it to be like a soft sense, there you go. If you want it to be more intense. Boom. When I add this drop shadow, you can also now see my stroke outline much better. You can move the direction of the shadow. So let's say you want to move it around. You can move it go up. I think it looks better going down, especially since I was thinking of this as sort of a balloon-like shape that's going up. But you can make the shadow go on any side you want. But like I said, I like mine being down. You can also look at the blend mode on the shadows. The lighten modes are obviously going to make it go away. The darker modes are going to have different effects. I like my shadow being black in this case, so I'm going to stay there. And then I say, OK. So if I look at my layer panel, you can see it's listed for me everything I did to this text layer. The T that stands for type actually got the warp tool underneath it, and then all my layer effects are right there, and I have the ability to turn them on or turn them off, layer by layer as I like. And that is the whole experimentation with text and layer blending modes. To turn it in, save this first off as a PSD, but turn in a screenshot of your finished exercise and a screenshot of your layers. Thank you.